Nebraska Preps Postgame with Damon Benning and Jacob Padilla.
It's going to be Nebraska Preps Postgame. My co-host, Jacob Padilla, who I feel like I just talked to, and that maybe just because I did. We are, listen, I got to say it out loud. The world wants more Jacob Padilla. So I'm like, you know what? Let's do a podcast together.
Yeah. I don't typically get up early enough for your other show.
Hey, that was fantastic, though.
But I'll do it for you.
You know what? And I love it because my favorite thing is, like, you don't even skip a beat. We hit like 4 different topics, and you're just like, yeah, and I mean, the seamless transitions, it's like, I don't know. I feel like I'm on the raceway and you're just changing lanes. It's no problem, man. There's no brake lights needed.
Well, that's kind of how it used to go with Sharpie too. He kept me on my toes, so I knew to be ready for it.
Yeah. So once upon a time, full disclosure, when Sharpie decided he was going to go midday and I was going to stay in the mornings, I offered him a trade. And much like the New York Nets, they didn't want to trade in good faith. He was like asking for the moon. I was like, hey, I'll swap you Jacob for Sauter. We can rotate. No. I'm going to start off fresh. I'm going to keep Jacob. I was like, you can't keep Jacob for yourself. But yeah, so, our producer called this morning and last night, he's like, hey, such and such and such and such. I was like, hey, he's like, do you want Jacob or Washit? I was like, hey, I love Robin, but give me some Jacob. So here we go. It's like we hit on volleyball, we got football, we got high school. And lo and behold, we're going to talk high school again, man. Yep. It has been some offseason. A lot of movement, a lot of consternation about who's going where, who's done what. The dust is kind of settled. As you look into week 0, where the matchup will be Prep and Bellevue West, is there anything of the scuttlebutt that you thought you heard in the offseason as it's panned out and we're kind of getting into the regular season, what coaches have intimated, what we've seen guys like Mike Sauter doing their write-ups? Are there any surprising omissions or glaring standouts from guys where you're thinking, that's interesting?
Yeah. And shout out to Sauter, who's done a great job going through all these
practices. He does not mess around.
Yeah, he certainly helped me get ready for this podcast and just general knowledge. So
here's the beauty of Mike Sauter. He hates being wrong.
Yep.
So he's overly prepared. Yep. It is fantastic because we all reap the benefits because he's very thorough.
Yeah. Probably the thing leading into this week 0 matchup here with Prep and Bell West is just the Jacob Rope at tackle deal. I didn't even realize that he was going out for football until Sauter told me. I was like, oh, really? Not only is he going out, but he's going to play. So
funny story before you get going. We were joking. Matter of fact, it was that I was just messing around with you at UBT during high school summer league. And I was coming out and you were coming in and Bellevue West had just didn't play as well as they wanted to against Millard North. Do you remember that night?
Yeah, I think so.
And and they had just scored darn near triple digits right before that, right? And so we're leaving and Jacob's joking with me. He's like, hey, coach, what's up? And he's laughing. He goes, I'm hanging in there. I said, are you still at workouts? He's like, I'm hanging in there. I said, are you still at workouts? And he was dead dog serious that he had gone. He was at that point, it would have been about 3 or 4 weeks into their summer conditioning. And he was still rolling. And that was after the appendectomy.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, oh, he's serious.
Yeah.
Jacob Rope is serious about playing football.
That's impressive. And big dude, good feet. Like you can see how he would slide in there
tremendous feet
as a tackle. So there's a chance to be pretty good there. It's hard to make up for however many years of not playing, but he's got the physical tools and you got some good coaches out there.
Yeah, of course he's fantastic. You know what I wonder? I wonder how tough he is. Because it's different, right?
Yeah.
We saw him really show out this year, especially in the post. The great footwork. He was crafty. I think he really elevated his stock. But it's a different kind of toughness because there are no plays off.
No. And that's the thing, like football, you really got to love it to be able to
Yeah.
succeed at a high
Yeah.
level playing football. It can't be something that you're just doing because your parents want you to or whatever. Like, to be really good, you got to really embrace the physicality of it. It's the reason that I never had any interest in playing football. I'll just leave it at that. But
you prefer to catch and shoot, right?
and he's going to figure out right off the bat. Again, you're going to have a Sledge or a Marcelino coming at him off the edge right away, his first game back. So, yeah, that'll be a really fun matchup. I mean, that experienced prep line going against Out West, who has to plug in some new pieces there after losing some good players.
Yeah, it's really interesting to see. I think the ones of kind of the movement, can Sebastian Serco kind of stabilize the quarterback play at North, right? We've seen Zach Martin and Houston and Peyton and some of these guys try to take the helm. Williams most recently. Can Sebastian give them some consistency of a multi-year starter and kind of settle in at the quarterback spot? That one interests me quite a bit as a guy that's changed addresses. And then I think the other one quietly is what's going to happen at and now I'm drawing at Bellevue West with how to utilize Jaden Bouillon.
Yeah, that's
who has been very quiet in the offseason, like how Bellevue West will use him, because he was fantastic at Omaha Central.
He had some monster games on the ground,
Yes,
and I think he's probably more defensive. Like, they're looking at him more as like, all right, you're going to be a key defensive player, but he can handle the ball. Like, you give him the ball out of the backfield, and he can run some guys over.
Especially with the emergence of Gwinner. Am I saying that right?
I think I haven't heard it. I've just read it. So.
Who I think is going to garner some carries in the backfield for Bellevue West. I'll be curious to see how they utilize him on defense. We saw Jaden in 7-on-7. He's playing some Mike linebacker. There are those that feel like he may have moved his way up and maybe played along that defensive front. Isaiah McMorris is going to be another integral piece, I think, for them. But they're so deep outside the numbers. I'll be curious to see how it all fits together. Will there be enough balls, right? Does the culture lend itself to, will there be enough balls to keep everybody okay?
Well, part of that goes back to the running back situation. You mentioned Gwinner and Contreras, kind of guys that are going to be in the backfield there. How much does Bouillon play offense there? Does he mix in? Because we know how run heavy they've been when they've been at their best with guys like LJ Richardson and Jay Ducker and Jalen Bradley. Doesn't look like they've got a guy of that caliber now. So do they air it out even a little bit more? And does that help them spread the ball around? Like, what does kind of the run pass balance look like this season with the pieces they've got coming back? Because obviously got Davon Hall, everybody knows about. I know Cairo Jordan, you're really high on him as well. Two really, really talented players on the outside. And then you've got some other guys around him. You mentioned McMorris. They've got some other guys.
Goodwater's going to be a good player.
Kind of waited their turn and now ready to step up and be a target as well. So they've definitely got, and then Kaden Ector now coming over from Burke and kind of looks the part at tight end to replace the guys that they lost last year. So yeah, they've got plenty of options. I think it's just a matter of, all right, can Kalen get the ball on time, on target, and can they protect him well enough to get it there?
You said something interesting this morning on the morning show. I asked you about quarterback play, and I was going through Koziel, Ronner, Donaldson, Kalen. You know, even Serco is in that discussion of new quarterbacks kind of in new places. See, the thing that makes Gretna different is Zane Flores.
Yeah.
Consistent, steady Eddie's played since a freshman. Quarterback is not a problem for Gretna. They have enough really good pieces around them. We slot them at one. Then I asked you about the next best, right?
Yeah,
a Donaldson, the aforementioned quarterbacks. I thought it was interesting. You started with Donaldson being able to change the trajectory the most, but when talking about Westside, Rizak was the guy that piqued your curiosity the most? Those are two different discussions. Why?
So I feel like Rizak, I think we know what we're going to get. He's going to be really good. He had one interception last year as a starter, 19 touchdowns, 1 interception. That's a pretty good ratio last time I checked. Completed like 68% of his passes. Like he was really, really good. Obviously has the dual threat ability to kind of keep defenses on their toes. And then he's got plenty of weapons around him. So I feel like, I think we know what we're going to get. The question is just, all right, how high is the ceiling? We know he's going to be a really good player and he's got the weapons to be really good. Now, where can he kind of ascend to? I mentioned Donaldson because I feel like if he's good, and
I loved your analogy about trajectory of changing the perception.
Because if Donaldson, if they have a real passing game to go with what they're going to be able to do on the ground game, they might be the most complete team when you look at offense, defense, passing, running, line play, back end play. Like they've got a chance to be up there in terms of just the most well-rounded team. Because I think there's still some questions about the kind of the talent on the outside and that sort of thing. And just like everybody has questions at this point, even the best teams like Gretna, how they going to replace McHuber? He's such a huge part of both
Cheney.
sides. Yeah.
Gosh, those guys were good.
And Cheney, multiple offense, defense, special teams, like big piece that. So, and then Huber, obviously their best linebacker, and they're the key to their running game and that screen game that was so good that made them so deadly. So like Westside, you got a lot to replace up front. You got all the talent in the world, or outside, you still kind of meshing some of those new guys in. But so I feel like if Donaldson is good and he's got enough weapons there, Charmar Brown's going to be one of the best running backs in the state this year. He's going to have the line to run behind that will allow him to show off what he can do. Heck, they've got George Egan at fullback there to kind of block the way for him too, and kind of run some of their fullback trap stuff. So I feel like if Prep can kind of be dangerous on the outside, in addition to that, they're going to be tough to slow down.
All right. So, and I try not to influence you, and it's hard to do because you have a ton of conviction. So I always wait. I don't say much about Westside, but I think you're spot on with Rizak, because as I look at our team, potentially, people can talk about our skill all they want, with Benning and Cotton and Jamez Ross and Lloyd. If Anthony Rizak is better than good, Westside can be great. Like he's 6'2", he's 190 pounds, he's got a good arm, tremendous accuracy, he's very fast. If he's good, he takes us to another level. Donaldson, if you have to defend Prep outside the numbers, goodness.
Yeah.
Like you got your top 7 linemen coming back for them. You got Brown, you've got Russell, you've got Pargo, you've got a host of guys. I like Matthews on the outside as kind of a young guy that's strong, good route runner. He was really good for them, I think, in 7-on-7, at least against us. But let me give you one more, because I think this team is severely overlooked. And by the way, we need to get back to Prep, because I want to ask you about Ezra Vedral. We talked about him again on the morning show. He's got a chance to give Prep a completely different wrinkle. We're preparing for them now, and I'm going back to our games and watch their last 4 games from a year ago. They actually showed some triple option. Just didn't have the quarterback to really run.
Yeah.
All I can envision, right? Like I'm always thinking worst case scenario. All I'm envisioning is Ezra Vedral playing quarterback running triple. Can you imagine that dynamic? I don't know if that's what they're going to do. I just think they showed us flashes last year. We've worked on quick and their pitch game and power and blah. We're going through all these things. Yeah. I'm like, I talked to our staff yesterday after practice. I'm like, if Vedral plays and he has impact, we got to play 11-on-11 against these guys.
Well, that's the advantage for you guys is you get to wait and see them in that week 0 game before getting them.
The whole staff is going to be in attendance. That almost never happens. We've scheduled practice accordingly. We want to get there early. Like, we just want to see, because both opponents are in the first 3 weeks. No, by the way, week 2, we go to Grand Island, another top 10 ranked team. So it's like, let's kill a couple birds with one stone.
Yeah, man, some great scheduling to start the season here.
So let me ask you about the guy that I'm going to tell you about. Ronner at Elkhorn South.
See, you mentioned, I have not seen anything of him. So that's what you keep bringing him up. I want to hear what you think.
He shows me, he appears to be a guy that can be super dynamic, right? He's a good dual threat guy. I don't know what I don't really know their personal outside the numbers well enough to know like how dynamic they can be, but I know what they bring back up front. I know who he's going to hand the ball off to in Ballard. If he's good, in my opinion, they're scary, because I think up front they're comparable to Creighton Prep. I think Creighton Prep and Elkhorn South have the 2 best offensive and defensive lines of anybody in the top 10.
Yeah, and so if Ronner can kind of keep them on schedule, complete more of those routine throws, that was the problem with them last year. They were just so many chances.
Wasn't I texting you during that Elkhorn South Motor South game? We were going back and forth
because I think they had more talent on the outside than they showed last year. With some of those guys that and all those guys were seniors now, so you definitely got Ballard back inside, and you're going to have a good running game with him leading the way. But can you again?
We're like, hey man, if Coy Wilkie can get some touches outside the numbers, like, he's pretty dynamic.
Yeah, and Chase Anderson and Carson Crouch played some wide receiver for them. Like, they just couldn't find the consistency of the passing game, I think. So you don't even have to be a great, like, when you've got a back like Ballard and a line like that, you don't have to be a guy that's making huge plays and throwing guys open. You just have to complete the easy ones. Keep your team on schedule. Keep defenses honest, and then that's when Ballard will be able to break off the 20-yard touchdowns or whatever. So if he can do that, and first time as a starter there for them, like that would be a big deal for them, especially with, again, what defensively what they're going to have with Noonan and Prohaska and those guys coming off the edge.
Does Henry have a chance? You're not going to unseat Teddy. I mean, he's a Power 5 guy. He was the highest ranked recruit in that class, which I still think people forget about, right? Yeah. Teddy Prohaska was the highest ranked recruit coming out that year. Henry has a chance.
Again, especially with
great body type.
Yeah. With playing opposite Noonan, like, that's going to give you some opportunities to go make plays, because you cannot single block Maverick Noonan, or it's a tackle for loss every single time. You have to send extra help that way, which means it's going to be a numbers game with the rest of the line. And Prohaska seems like a guy that will be able to take advantage of that.
So, okay. So we talked a little bit of Gretna, talked a little bit of Westside, talked a lot of Prep, talked a lot of Bellevue West, talked a fair amount of Elkhorn South, even a little North. Who's next for you? Are you parsing through Elkhorn South, Omaha North, Millard South? Is like, kind of, how are you slotting that in your head based on all the other different outlets preseason rankings?
Yeah, I think it is the top 4, and then that North, Millard South, Elkhorn South, kind of in that next tier.
So the top 4 in some order. You're going to we both agree start Gretna 1.
Gretna, Westside, Prep, and Bell West in some order up there. Yeah.
Okay. 5 Elkhorn South.
Again, I know less about them, I think, and what they have returned. Like, again, if they're as good in the trenches as you say, then that's a pretty good place to start. And with that running game, like, all 3 of these, honestly,
you're putting them in a bag. Elkhorn South,
could come down
North,
to the quarterback play for those 3.
Yeah.
If because you've got 3 new starters,
and Koziel. So can we assume Koziel's going to make that team? I mean, he's got to be playing over. He's going to be in Japan, right?
I don't know the timeline for that and when we'll learn. I know obviously he was out there training for it or whatever, trying to make the team. I don't know when we'll learn. What is it, up to 4 games that he missed?
Yeah, he could miss up to 4.
Yeah, that would hurt. I know. Talk about Brock Murtaugh working taking some snaps. Obviously,
that's what I would do.
Yeah. You don't. I mean, it's kind of an easy move to just put your best athlete at quarterback and let him go, especially with
Has Moon South done that before?
Yeah.
Have we seen that with Urban and then Stenger? I think we've seen that before.
New coaching staff, but that
and
program is
no coach Long and no coach Means.
Yeah.
So maybe not,
but we'll see. Again, those three, I think they've got some pieces that can lift them up there. It's just again, the quarterback part of it and a piece here or there. Like, all right, if this guy's good, then they're going to be right there in the mix.
Omaha North, who's you got to think guard, center guard. They'll go Ty Stewart, state champion wrestler. Peyton Knickerbocker, who plays center for them, who's a little dinged up. Then probably Tyson Terry at the other guard. That's pretty good with a guy like Porter running the football.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, is that good? I don't know. Is that good?
But 1,600 yards last year, just no big deal.
Very deceptive. We learned right away. He creased us. I don't know if we trailed at the half or it was close.
Who has more rushing yards this year, Brown or Porter?
Well, that's good. I like that.
Brown was in the kind of time split last year with Stessman, the senior, and so he didn't. He was 1,000. Porter was about 1,600.
Boy, that is good. I'll take. I'll take Porter, but primarily because of the schedule.
That's fair.
Brown, I think, is the better back. Like if I was comparing the two,
heading North Dakota State,
I'd take Sharmar, but statistically, I think Porter is gonna have the better season. Prep schedule is not good. It's a tough schedule.
Yeah, whatever they get, they're definitely gonna earn.
But that's a good one. I don't feel great about saying that.
Yeah, and I mean the running back talent was so absurd last year with that senior class. These are in Class A at least. These are the two guys back from that group that you felt like were kind of in that elite tier. And Porter obviously had the production to belong in that. Brown again was in timeshare, but still put up 1,000 yards. Is really effective. So this is kind of the top tier of Class A. Let's jump down to B real quick. Who do you see at the top there? Sauter put out his coaches poll and comes in Scottsbluff, Scott, Bennington. That's the top three.
I like Bennington. I haven't seen Scottsbluff enough, but I do know that they have a potential Super 6 candidate in 2023, right? Like
2024.
2024. Yeah, yes. Boyle. Yeah, Boyle and Kit, they're the same class. Yeah. Sebastian Boyle is fantastic.
They got their quarterback back and Stoll, kind of a dual threat guy, probably better runner than a passer, but
and they're in a good cycle.
And they got Knutson coming over.
Basketball. You see, nobody talks about that because it's West.
Yeah.
Guys transfer all the time, right, JP? I mean, wrestling, softball, central basketball. Some people have been doing this for years, right? It's the way that it goes. But Scottsbluff is interesting because I don't see them enough until they get further along in the big stage. I would probably put Bennington slightly ahead of Scott, although that's a toss-up. I think historically you give the benefit of the doubt to Scott because of the success and the longevity of the program.
But Bennington has the best quarterback.
Yes, they do.
And Trey Bird. And I'm really interested to see what kind of season he has. Because last year,
like I said, I lean Bennington in that one.
With Dylan Mostick, like all Bird, and he didn't even open the season at their camp as a starter, obviously. That injury to Wempen and then forced kind of Bird into action, and he took that job and ran with it. But last year he was kind of more of a, all right, do my job, let Dylan run the heck out of the ball, and then make plays here and there. Some play action, some deep shots, whatever. This year he's going to have to be a little bit more of the motor as opposed to the guy that's benefiting from the Mostick running game. And they've got some weapons coming back with Isaac Connor out wide. They've got Nick Culvert in the backfield, who played a lot for them last year as the backup and kind of a utility player. So that's a nice little trio there. Bennington, you can expect their line play will be pretty solid. I know they've got some big dudes up there. So it's hard to, again, Trey Bird, 64 completion percentage, 24 touchdowns, just 3 interceptions last year. That's pretty good. Flores is the best returning quarterback in the state. Bird's the best returning quarterback in Class B.
He's got some competition, though, from the guy down in Blair. Hey.
Blair's 5, by the way, in the preseason poll.
See, I wanted to call him a dark horse, so maybe not.
I think B's kind of the same thing that they've run into in basketball. The talent is down in B. There's just not as many teams. So it's tougher. Like, it's tougher to find dark horses because that team's probably going to end up in the top 10.
Yeah. See, Blair's a team that I think if they stay healthy, they're going to be right there. Tremendous skill. I really like them offensively. The best quarterback in B, I think, we're going to write that down. I'm going to put it in pencil, not Sharpie, because that will be, in my opinion, a great great thing to watch, to see who kind of evolves at the quarterback spot. And Pius now playing in B this year, I think could cause a few problems.
Yeah. And they're at 6, and to round out the top 6, Waverly is at 4 in the preseason poll there.
Does Waverly just keep? I feel like they're on a cycle.
Yeah.
Right.
They've got Trey Jackson back at quarterback,
Yes, they
who
do.
got some experience last year.
Gave them a different dimension in the way that they're used to playing,
a
right?
little bit, yeah. And you got Preston Harms back. They lost some key pieces. They're got a big guy up front. So I think that's probably the fair top group there for B. And again, I wish I haven't looked at Scott's Plus schedule. I don't. I wish that got a chance to see him more during the regular season, like you said. But yeah, looking forward to the postseason for sure, and how those teams at the top kind of shake out.
The Bird and Silcup matchup, who's Bodie is Blair's quarterback, who I really, really like. He camped a little bit this year. Iowa is extremely high on Bodie Silcup. So I think quarterback play will be paramount. But for Blair, I don't think it's any simpler than they need to stay healthy. I kind of feel like B is a lot like A, where put them in a hat at the top. 1 through 6, it's going to be health and quarterback play. Right?
Yeah, I don't think, looking at the roster, there's no Bennington last year. There's no team that's going to steamroll everybody, I don't think. I don't think there's a team that's as complete as Bennington was last year, because that's as complete a Class B team as we've seen, I think. And what hurts Class B is Aurora dropping down to C1. So they're preseason number 1 in that class with Carlos Colazo and crew.
So more distinct advantage, Aurora going to C1 because of their numbers, or how's Dodge going to 2?
Yeah, they return a lot.
Listen, how good is House Dodge going to be?
They got some really good athletes out there.
I haven't felt as good about making a pick in a class as I do taking House Dodge. That is some program.
Yeah. Pierce will give Aurora a run for its money in C1 as well, with Ben Bramer and Abram Schulting. That duo is going to be deadly this year.
30 minutes in, we didn't even get to Super 6.
No.
But we'll recap. We'll get into it at some point. Maybe. That's one of the best in the business. That's Jacob Padilla. I'm ODB. We'll be back next week with Nebraska Preps Postgame.